Hello, hello. Good afternoon, good morning. Welcome to the Frugal Crafters YouTube channel, and we are going to talk about World Watercolor Month and look at the artwork I made during the month. And yeah, let me know where you're watching from in the chat. Let me know if you can hear me and you can see my table. And let me know if you did World Watercolor Month this year, if you finished it, if you started. Let us know. Let us know how you did this year if you tried it. And or you can let us know if you plan on trying it next year. All right, we've got some people in the chat. People can hear me. All right, this is great. I'm going to try to stream for about an hour today. 31 paintings. I think we can do that in an hour. And I'm probably not going to go in order because I worked in a few different sketchbooks. So hopefully I don't miss any. I don't forget any. Oh my goodness, we got people from California and Canada. Springfield, Massachusetts. Ooh, Pat Jones. I used to go to the stamp show in West Springfield, Massachusetts. That was a lot of fun. New Jersey, Peru. Wow, international audience. Nova Scotia, UK, Missouri, New York. Oh, exciting, exciting, guys. All right. I'm not sure if the chat will be available after the live stream. But I just want to let you know that sometimes it is. So I wouldn't post anything in the chat that you don't want to be there in the future, just in case the chat stays with it. I don't know why sometimes it does and sometimes it doesn't, but I just want to give you the heads up there. Okay, I'm going to start off with day one of World Watercolor Month. And for those of you that don't know, World Watercolor Month is an art challenge where basically you have a prompt every day for the month of July and you create artwork that coincides with the prompt. And the first day's prompt was pattern. And I was really excited for that one because I love vintage patterns. I like to sew. I like to collect threads, buttons and threads and stuff like that. So I did a still life and then I sketched it and painted it. And I have a time lapse of this on my channel. And there's a real-time tutorial for this in Critique Club. I knew I wanted to spend some time on this one, so I decided to film it and record that. And that was a lot of fun. I kind of had wished that prompt was later on in the month because I knew I wanted to spend time on it and I wanted to kind of gear up to it. But it was the first one, so that's what I did there. I'm trying to think what the second prompt was. I should have had somebody in the chat tell me what the different prompts are, so I could, so I would know. But I'm just gonna take stuff as it comes because because I don't necessarily. Oh, you know what? The next one was rush. I remember that now. The next day was rush, and I did a sugar rush. So I did these donuts. And I was using the Paul Rubens floral set for the next couple of these. I was getting ready to review them, and the colors seemed very poppy and confectionery here. So I thought that worked pretty well. By the way, I will break for questions a couple times during the broadcast. So if you think of a question, just type the word question in all caps and then type your question normally. And then when I stop to take a question break, I will scroll back and find it. And then the next day, day 3 was turn. So I did this knob that was on our bass guitar. And then it was signal. And so I did a thumbs up because, that's a signal we give people to let people know everything's fine, everything's good. It's time to start the boat, whatever. You give somebody a thumbs up. And then the next day was patch. And so I decided to do a merit badge for all of us that were taking part in World Watercolor Month, because I think we all deserve a merit badge for sticking that out. And then it was rusty. And you may recall I did an alcohol marker piece of these old bolts that came out of a swing set that my husband repaired. And I took one of the bolts and I did it for that challenge. And I love doing shadows. And so I used Masha's watercolors here in the shadow to get those really crusty, chunky textures there. I think I might have used a little Daniel Smith too, like maybe Sodalite in there for the darker color. And then the next one was study, and my daughter was sitting reading on the couch. I took a picture of her and then I painted it. And what I wish I did, sometimes you come up with these really great ideas afterwards. And after I was done painting this and I posted it, I thought, oh, you know what I should have done? I should have made her reading like Hans Christian Andersen, and I should have made her legs into a tail, and I should have done bubbles. So it's like she was imagining a mermaid story. But I didn't think of that till after I finished it and posted it, and I was so bummed that brainstorm didn't come to me earlier. And then that's somehow kind of how it is when you're doing one of these challenges. You've kind of put yourself under this pressure to create something every day that you don't give yourself enough time to let the ideas really percolate and develop, because you're just making sure that you get that idea out every day. So I do think it's a really great training as far as like your ability to draw quickly or to think up ideas quickly. So it's kind of like an art boot camp, but I think that you can also miss some opportunities because you hastily go for an idea that may not be fully formed. But if it wasn't for the challenge, I wouldn't have painted this, so I never would have come up with that other idea. So I think it's good, but it just, it's just one of those things. Okay, the next day was feather, and had the idea that there's a video for this. I had the idea that I wanted to do this kind of really loose, um, I've been trying this thing on my channel occasionally on when I do longer tutorials where I just focus on the painting and I paint the painting, and then afterwards I just narrate it in real time. I've done a couple of those. And that's what I was going to do here. And actually, it's what I did here, but it was not what I had in my mind's eye that I wanted to do, because I find that I paint faster when I'm just focusing on the painting and not trying to talk at the same time. But this was kind of a fail. I have to say, I really like the way I sketched the legs, but it was kind of a fail. It didn't come out as good as I had hoped. I don't know if it was the paint or if it was the attitude I was in that day or what. So then I decided to just paint a feather on its own over here because I wasn't really happy with the bird that I had done. So they were both for that same day. But that's something I had been working on my channel, is like doing just focusing on the painting and then narrating it afterwards. And I did that for that one anyway. And yeah, it's all right. It wasn't what I had in my mind's eye, but that happens sometimes. You can't paint every single day for a month and expect everything to be awesome. In fact, you can't take any 30 paintings that you've done, 31 paintings you've done in order, and not have any stinkers among them. So, just how it goes. And then this one right here, I went to Monhegan for my birthday, and the prompt was actually buried, and there was a shipwreck. There's a shipwreck on Monhegan Island, so I'm like, oh, I'm painting that for buried, definitely. And I did, and I actually like how it came out. I love the granulation in the rocks. To my portable painter last year, I added a couple new colors. I used a Potter's Pink, and I love that color for Maine seascapes, especially because it's great for sand. You can see the texture of it there. It's great for rocks. And I added in cerulean blue. And those have been very handy. I also added in Mars Black, which is a nice granular black color, but I don't think I used it on this. But I love the texture in the rocks. The boat's a little matte, but it's not as, I don't know, seeing the scene. I think I did a good job at the scene. The scene isn't as good as you'd imagine it would be. Seeing a shipwreck, it's kind of like an iron boat that's kind of half covered up with rocks, but it was cool. It was fun. And then the fog rolled in, and I was up on the top of the hill, or mountain, whatever you want to call it, on the island, and I was painting at the lighthouse. This is the lighthouse here. And it was so foggy. And I was like, I'm going to finish this when I get home. But then I realized, no, this is how it looked. It was so foggy. There was like these rocks sitting in front of these rocks. There was a big bell here. This was a lighthouse and a little museum. And this was just another building. I don't know what it was. And then there was like a radio tower here. It was like a cell phone tower or something. And I had sketched this all in. And I'm like, I'm going to go over it with pen later. I think I might have sketched it. What did I sketch it with? I'm not even sure now what I sketched it with, but anyways, the pen dissolved. Maybe I was sketching it with a water soluble pen. I can't remember. I think it might have been like the gray side of the Tombow Funosuke pen, the double-ended one. But it was kind of faded out. Then I'm like, wait a minute though, it was so foggy. I decided to leave it because it kind of did capture the mood of the place. And we're going out of order here because I kind of had gone ahead and then flipped back, because whenever I'm going to do actually I didn't here, but usually if I'm doing a 2-page spread, I do it on a connected page, but apparently I didn't here because we had went to the waterfalls in Monroe Falls, and I painted the waterfalls. I just sat down on a rock in front of the waterfalls and painted them, and this is just chaos. But it is very chaotic when you try to paint in the woods or at a waterfall or anything like that. There's so much moving water, so much rushing, so much noise, and you just try to paint it, you try to get it down, and I feel like I captured that essence. And I don't feel like my plein air paintings are as good as studio paintings, but I feel like there's a certain liveliness to them that you don't get in the studio. So there was that. I did use some Inktense white block of the Inktense white in my portable painter in one of the slim pans, and I spattered some of that on there to get that spray, um, and try to make sense of it a little bit. But it was pretty chaotic, but I do like how it came out. And then this was from a photo I took when I was on Monhegan that week for my birthday. It was these flowers on a fence, and I just kind of zoomed into one flower. And I was also still working with that Paul Rubens floral set, and I loved it for painting this flower. I didn't really like it for the other things that I painted with it, but it worked really nice for the flower that I did. And there is a real-time tutorial of this on my channel, and I think this was one where I did the voiceover. I painted it and then I voiced it over later, but kept it in real time. So you can check those out. Let me know what you think of that style, because I'm trying to. I think it's important to have the long format tutorials on YouTube because that's free and everyone can access it. Not everybody has a credit card. Not everybody can subscribe to a like critique club, or not everybody can buy a class. So I think it's important to have. And I know there's other people that do tutorials, so it's not like the world's depending on me to create tutorials for them. But I think it's important to have a variety and some long form, in depth content like that for those that want it. So you can let me know how you like that compared to something that I've either live streamed or narrated live. And then this one right here was for the prompt widen, and I kept thinking of the movie A Clockwork Orange and the guy's eyes being like wired open, and that's what I went for. And that I do like how that came out. I think I captured the vibe of that pretty well. So I'm gonna check. I'm gonna look for some comments. I'm gonna actually, I'm not gonna leave it on this one because I think that will freak people out. So let me get a different one to leave it on. This one right here was my favorite one for the month. This is the tomatoes, and I took a photo of this on my railing, and I thought the photo was just really pretty, and so I did a painting of that, and that is up in Critique Club if you would like to paint along with me for that. And there's a time lapse on YouTube, but I'll leave that one on the screen because I think that would be a little bit better to look at while I'm answering questions. So if you have questions, make sure they're in the chat and I will go through and answer them. And if you wanted to see that in real time, it's in my critique club. Okay, I am going to scroll back here. There may be a commercial starting, but it should pop back. Nothing should be lost, hopefully, in the live stream. I just saw a notice on my screen, so that's how I know that YouTube does what YouTube wants to do. Okay. Oh, thank you, Berlina. Says the portrait of my daughter looks nice. Make sure you type the word question in all caps if you have any questions. I'm seeing a lot of familiar faces in the chat. That's so nice. All right. I think that I don't see any questions unless I'm missing them. All right. Well, I guess that there aren't any questions. So awesome. So yeah, like I said, this one was, I highly recommend that you keep anytime you see something that you think, "Ooh, that's so pretty, I would love to paint it." If you have a smartphone, just grab it and take a photo of it. And then when you're stumped or you have time to paint, because there's nothing worse than having time to paint and not being able to think of anything to paint. If you take a picture of things that inspire you, then you're going to have a reference library right on your phone. If you don't have a smartphone, a little point and shoot digital camera, they're pretty inexpensive these days. Something like that will work really well. Even better would be if you had like an iPad or a tablet, because you could take a picture with that and then you have it on a bigger screen. So whether you're a smartphone smartphone user or not, you definitely can find a way to gather reference photos. Before smartphones, I would save seed catalogs and I would clip things out of magazines and I would just file them in accordion files based by subject. So I'd have a landscape file and a seascape file and a flowers file. Actually, I had a big accordion folder that was just flowers and it was by color. And that's what my art teacher did when I was a kid back in the 80s. She would have these drawers, this filing cabinet with massive filing cabinet with reference photos. And just having something like that that you can reach for anytime you need a reference is great. And there's websites like Unsplash and Pexels and Pixabay where you can find copyright free pictures that you can use for your art, or their commercial use, I should say, not copyright free, but they're commercial use, so you can use them for your art. And the only downside with that is that you have to go online, and if you get distracted when you go online, then it might not be the best idea, but it's certainly a great way to find some reference images. All right, we're gonna move ahead here. Oh, I do see a question. Heather Higby asks, "What's your favorite format to make a tutorial?" Oh, goodness. Let's my favorite format. I would probably say, I don't know, favorite or easiest. I would say because my favorite can be my easiest because a lot of times I just like to paint and focus on the painting, but then going back and narrating it real time is kind of a drag. It's like I bore myself. So time lapse. I'd say probably my favorite way is just to time lapse it. Um, but I don't think that's the most useful way. So I don't know. I don't know. Probably I think it would depend. I think I get bored if I do the same thing too often. Yeah. Yeah, I get bored if I do the same thing too often. So I guess I have to my favorite way is to change it up so that I'm not bored. All right. So this was kind of fun. On these two pictures, I had discovered a pen that will bleed out into purple and glitter. And do I have it? I don't know if I have it here or if I took it upstairs, but it's a Sparkle Pop. The name of the pen is called Sparkle Pop. It's by Pentel and it's a gel pen. And so I was going to sketch with a fountain pen and then add water to it and then add some watercolor. And I thought I had grabbed my black fountain pen but when I looked at it, I'm like, oh, that's not a fountain pen. But I'm like, let me see what happens because I really didn't have much of an idea. The prompt was arch. And I don't know, I wasn't all that, I don't know, I really want to get good at painting architecture, but a lot of times I get kind of overwhelmed and also simultaneously bored with doing architecture. I'm not sure why, I guess all the straight lines, but I'm like, if I go with something kind of granular and organic like stones, that would be really fun to do. And so I sketched the arch with the Sparkle Pop pen, and then I added some water and I saw it went purple. I'm like, oh, that's really pretty. And then I dripped in I think I used yellow ochre, quinacridone rose, and cobalt teal. And I think, oh, some potter's pink too for texture. And I just really liked how that came out. And then I went back in and did some more detail. And you can kind of see, I don't know if it's going to show up on camera, the red glitter in there. It's kind of unusual. So I really enjoyed that. And I enjoyed it so much that the next day the prompt was spiral. And so I very carefully drew out a nautilus shell with pencil. And then I went and drew over the lines where I wanted shadow with the Sparkle Pop pen. And then I took a wet water brush, just a water brush actually. And then I actually think I did both of these with water brushes. I just pulled the ink around and then added in my color. And then finally added a little colored pencil in here. But, oh, I also sprayed it to let the colors run. I did that in both of them, just kind of sprayed it to let it kind of have a little bit of a ethereal look to them. And yeah, I really like how that pen worked. And then here you can see the pen just on its own. I wrote my name after it was dry. So it looks black when you write it and you don't add water to it. It's black with a little bit of red glitter. And those pens are cheap. They're like under $3. And they have a bunch of different colors, but I use the black and red. They come in a multi-pack too. I think there's only 8 colors in total, but it was really fun. I really enjoyed doing that. And then this was, I think the prompt might have been vitamin, and I was having a fruit salad for dinner, so I just took a photo of it and then I painted that. I like the way the peaches came out. I think painting peaches wet into wet works really well because you get that kind of like mango-y color in there, and then you dab in the rose and it just kind of like softens out, but it's like perfect for that, how the skin and how the pit can kind of bleed, the colors can bleed in. And it was in a white bowl, but I changed it to teal because I thought that would pop from the background a little bit better. And I went back to the Sparkle Pop pen for this, and I did a tutorial on this And this one I narrated live because honestly thought it was going to be so much easier than it was. I thought it was going to come together so much quicker than it did. And we had some hot mess situations. In fact, there were actually 4 sheep in the reference photo I was looking at, and I got the wrong butt on that sheep. And I didn't realize it while I was painting it. I didn't realize it until a bunch of you guys told me, get the wrong legs on that sheep. But it just looks so weird. So anyways, yeah, we got a strange situation happening in that Franken sheep, but I liked how it came out at the end. It was a struggle, but it was fun. It was fun to paint. And you learn a lot when you do a challenge like this because especially if you're taking part in the community, because you're putting that pressure on yourself to post every day, and people are expecting to see what you post every day, that it kind of keeps you accountable. And I like it. Not everybody would like it, but I was glad to have the month done. But I also like it. I like that little bit of pressure to create, because I think sometimes you have to really push yourself, and not all the time. I think you can burn out if you do that all the time, but having these sprints in the marathon of your art career or your art practice, having these little sprints make you stronger and make you more nimble and make you faster and make you adapt more, and it just kind of sparks your creativity, because you're forced to, like, this painting needs to be done today. I can't just toss it. I need to have it done. So I'm going to do what I need to do to finish it, which I added bleed-proof white to it. But if I wasn't in a challenge, I was doing this, I might just be like, I'm tossing it aside, and I'm not gonna finish it. So I think it's good. I think challenges are really good for that reason. All right, on this one here, the prompt was, oh goodness, I don't remember what the prompt for this one was. It wasn't. Oh gosh, I don't remember if it was something tranquil, maybe. I don't know. I don't remember. But for whatever reason, I decided I was going to paint a beach. And I do like how the sky and how the water came out, the little bubbles and foam. But I don't like how that shell came out. And then I zoomed into the reference photo, which I got on Unsplash, and I realized that it wasn't like that shell had been put on the beach. It wasn't part of the picture naturally. So I think that's why I had such a hard time integrating it, and why it looks so weird. But I finished it, and it's fine. But no, I don't know. It would have been too boring without something there, but I don't know. I wasn't super happy with that. I think there's probably more paintings that I'm not happy with than I am happy with this month, but I think that goes with the territory, especially if you're trying to improve and get better. You're just going to let yourself down a certain amount of that time. So on this one here, this was really fun because we did this together in a live stream a couple weeks ago, and I wasn't really intending to do this. And I'm trying to think, why was I doing the live? Oh, I was doing a live stream because I had got this sketchbook here, and I was kind of reviewing that. And I'd also bought some sepia pens. I had bought the Biennial sepia set of 12, and I was really impressed with them. I liked them quite a bit. And I also bought the Pentel pocket brush in sepia, because I had the black one and I've really been enjoying using that one. And the sepia one went on sale on Amazon, and I'm like, well, I'm snagging that up because I wanted that one as well. And I had the chance. I didn't realize that when we were in France, one of my students had bought one in the art shop that we went to, and I didn't see it, and I was so bummed because I had wanted that pen. So when I saw it on Amazon at a good price, I snagged it. And I really do like it. It's really dark though. It's so dark. It's such a dark sepia or sepia that it's almost black. So I don't know if I necessarily need that where I have the black one, but it is a little softer, which is nice. And sketching a human using a brown instead of a black, I feel like it's a little bit more natural looking. I love the way his leg came out. I struggled so much with this guy, and his eyeballs, he looks so creepy until somebody suggested put sunglasses. I wonder if the person that suggested me to put sunglasses on him is in today's live stream, because that saved the day. He looked so freaky until the sunglasses went on. But looking back at this, I actually really like it. I think that has really nice movement. You can really see the wake here of the wave, and I think I have nice tension in the rope, and I really feel like he looks balanced, and I love how his leg came out. So I'm really happy with this one, especially sketching it live on camera when I'm trying to like run a live stream and focus on the painting. I think I did a good job. So not to toot my own horn, because I'm certainly not happy with enough of these that like this one, for instance, not happy with that one. This one, the prompt was oh, Title, I think maybe was it Title? I think it was Title. And I was having a really hard time deciding what to do. And I kept thinking about tide pools, and I didn't have any reference photos that I had taken of tide pools, which is crazy because I live pretty close to um, the ocean, especially in the brackish bay area where you do have these little tide pools. And I had no reference photos and I couldn't find anything that I was really inspired by. So I thought I wanted to use these neon watercolors that I got a couple of years ago. And I don't use neon very much because I'm not going to use it in a quote unquote good painting, because if I'm going to hang it up, it'll fade. So it's only going to be sketchbook work. And I'm like, well, I don't really have much use for neon colors, and neon doesn't really film well or reproduce well, and most of my work is shared online, so I didn't really have a good excuse to use neon. But I'm like, you know what, every day is a chance to make something new and to try something new when you're doing a challenge. So like, what the heck, I'm here. And so when I did my course, 30 Days to Better Painting, I did a jellyfish. And the technique that we did was we do a wash of color and then we drop in water to force these ruffly blooms. And that makes the jellyfish trails. And so I wanted to do something very similar to that. I wanted the water to be also kind of like a good character, a good player in the painting. So I used my DIY granulating palette, which that's a video and blog post I did. And I recommend the blog post because I list out all the pigments that I used. And you run out of space in the video description on YouTube, and you can't put more than so many words in it. But anyway, if you love granulating watercolors, but you don't have it in your budget to go buy more paint, this post is really handy because it goes through common colors that you have that will likely granulate. And it shows you how to test your colors out and find out what granulates, so you can make yourself a palette with what you already have. So anyway, I was using that palette, and I had some ultramarine blue and some Mars black, and I use that in the background to really create this heavily textured background. And granulating colors lift really well, so it's really easy to lift color off if you need to. And then I just drop the colors in for the kind of like trails, and then I dropped in the neon colors, which I think worked really well. Neons are dyes, they're very staining, they're very opposite of what a granulating color is. So I thought that was kind of a nice use of those colors. Luckily it was just quick. It was fine. Not super thrilled with it, but I think for the amount of time I spent and for kind of going after that prompt with a product that I rarely ever use, I feel good about that because it got something used that I generally don't pick up. So for that, I think it was a success, I guess. And then for this one, the prompt was, oh gosh, I don't remember what the prompt was for this one. Why didn't I print? I should have just printed out the list so I'd be able to see. You know what? I'm gonna look on my phone because I know I can go to the World Watercolor Month Instagram page and look at it there. If you have any questions, again, go ahead and put question in all caps and type your question. I'm just gonna quickly find the prompt list here. So professional. All right. Let's see. Okay, that was for title. Uh, Gee, this wasn't obstacle. This was for obstacle because I don't know how to type. So that's why I did a typewriter, because I never learned how to type and I always found that was kind of an obstacle. So that's what that was for. And again, I used a Sparkle Pop pen for this, but I feel like it has a totally different vibe on this one because I also used some those brown biannual fine liners to do. Actually, no, I used black fine liners to do the other line work. It's got a very cartoony look to it. I think a lot of my stuff has cartoony looks to it. The more I go from my imagination, the more cartoony my pieces look. And I think if I had to like do art and not have reference images and go from my imagination, it would look very cartoony. It would look more like this. I think would be more of my natural style. Um, so I think it kind of comes out sometimes. And you might notice that too when you do a challenge and you start looking through your sketchbooks, you'll see common themes and common styles that you use and common techniques and just the way you make lines that make things look like yours. You could pick it up out of a lineup, and that's definitely looks kind of like my style, that kind of somewhat cartoony, kind of ephemeral, um, ethereal look. It's kind of like the contrast between something being kind of hard and cartoony to loose and ephemeral. I like to pull and push those two opposites to kind of create my style, I think. I don't know, maybe that's a little bit too hoity-toity sounding. I don't know. I'm gonna look for questions. I'll leave you here on this little train station. Diane Reed asks, why don't you write the prompt on the page? I don't, because I might, if I want to use my artwork for something, like scan it and license it or something, or if my kids do in the future. I mean, I'm hoping that these sketchbooks and the artwork that I leave behind after I'm, dead and gone can be used by my kids or grandkids or whatever, as income. So I don't want to write I don't want to put anything on the page that may be difficult to remove later on. So that's why. Somebody says I should scan the typewriter and sell digi images. I used to do digital stamps. That was how I started my online business, is doing selling digital stamps and die cut files for die cutters, Cricut machines, and stuff. Oh, somebody else says the typewriter should be pattern paper. That's really sweet. There's a question from BioArch Dr. My Wife. I hope I said that right. I've heard the Pentel brush is fibers like a water brush or a paintbrush. Yeah, it's not, it's fibery. It's got bristles. I mean. Yeah, it's great. It's like a little paintbrush, and because of that, it will last a long time, and you can get refills for it. And you probably can actually eyedropper fill it, but I was able to get a set of 12 refills, and the cartridges are pretty big, for $8 on Amazon of the black color. So I did that, and the pen that I bought came with 2 refills, and you can buy packs of 2 refills for like $3.50 on Blick. So it's pretty affordable. Yeah, they should last a long time. Just scanning back and seeing if there's any other questions. And if you're watching the replay, feel free to skip ahead any of the question sessions if you're not interested. All right, I think I'm caught up, but if I missed your questions, feel free to repost. So last Friday, was it last Friday? I think it was last Friday. Me and some friends and I, use some grammar, Lindsay, went to a train station to paint. And I had seen this train station. Last winter, my husband and I had gone to that waterfall that you saw me paint earlier, because I was curious to see what it would look like if it was frozen. It was funny because Angela Fair had posted, and she's up in Canada where it's way colder, some frozen waterfalls. And I'm like, oh, I wonder if any waterfalls around here freeze. So I just Googled waterfalls near me and saw Monroe Falls, and we went there. And it was neat because it was half frozen, half rushing, and the ice was kind of like this like Fortress of Solitude green. It was really cool. And then we were driving out, and I saw this little train station, and it was really close to Belfast. It was actually in Belfast, and I thought, oh, I want to paint there sometime. So I actually invited all the local people that I know that paint into a little Facebook group, and I said, hey, anybody want to join us? And then I think about 6 of us got together in Belfast, and the train station was closed during the week, so we just set up wherever we wanted to and painted. And I spent so long here at this spot, and I was not happy with how long it was taking me and the results that I came up with. I actually really like how that bench came out, but for the most part, I was not pleased with my progress here. It was frustrating. It was very hot, and I don't know. I enjoyed the day, but I was not that thrilled with how my painting was coming out. And I brought my little gouache palette that I made out of a little nicotine mint tin that I picked up on the side of the road. I did a video on that. It was perfect. It had Da Vinci gouache in it, and I was pretty hard on Da Vinci gouache when I reviewed them, but in use, I have to say, I really like Da Vinci gouache. I think I might have to do like an apology video or something, or maybe just like, I feel like I might need to do a relook at that product, because although I think all my criticisms of that product were valid, the fact that it's really nice to use in real life situations and it pans really well, I think I think I owe it a little bit of an apology. But anyway, I threw that in my bag and it was great. It was great for adding to this and putting the clouds in with and whatnot. But yeah, I wasn't happy with my skill on this, but the day was beautiful. The location was beautiful. I did some pencil sketches of some details of like the little train signal. And I used this for the prompt global because there was a Western Union Telegraph office there. They had the sign for it. And this is, I think it's like a museum too. And I just really love that. I thought that was really sweet, really cute. I love old things. I love old signs. I love old signs. I love roadside diner signs and old neon signs and just old cocktail lounge signs, old cities, old downtowns. I love it. So I liked getting those little bits of detail here and just doing kind of little vignettes of these little signs that I'd seen. So signs everywhere. They can clog up the scenery. So yeah, I like how that came out. And then this one here was for the prompt suite. And any excuse to paint candy, I am here for it. And it was funny because I've had this bag of old-fashioned Christmas candy sitting in my studio for like 2 years. And I'm not a hard candy person. I think it either came in my Christmas stocking or one of my family's Christmas stockings and they gave it to me. But I'm like, I'm going to paint that sometime. And I figured, well, today is the day. And the expiration date, actually, it was until next year. So maybe I'll take the candy I didn't put out to paint and dump them in a bowl for Christmas time for decoration. Cause I don't know. I don't like this type of candy and it smells like licorice and it kind of turns my stomach. But I set up a little still life with it and I like how I got the texture here of the little kind of waffly texture on the top of the candies. Overall, I don't think it's a great painting. I think it took me a little longer than it should have. And I don't know. I think it looks better actually than the candy did. And I have pictures of both the still life and the painting on my Instagram. You can see if you like. I think it looks better than the actual candy did, but I also think it's kind of I like to show beauty in the ordinary things, but I don't know. I don't think I did here. I think this looks very meh. And nah, just feel like I missed it. I feel like I missed the mark on that one. But anyways, it was fun to paint and I'd been meaning to paint it, so I'm glad I painted it. Otherwise that bag of candy would still be sitting on my armoire for until it congealed into a solid mass someday, never to be painted. So at least I painted it and I feel good about that. It's okay. It's it would be much more okay if I didn't know how long it took me to paint. I'm actually not even sure how long it took me to paint, but I know I listened to a couple podcasts during it, so it was over an hour anyway, maybe 2 hours. It was, yeah. I guess I'm kind of frustrated with my speed not improving more this month because generally I find that I level up in my speed over a challenge month, and I didn't feel like that was the case this month. So I'm a little disappointed in myself from that, but I did every day and I'm happy about that. Now this one, let me know in the chat if you have any idea why I painted this hat for the prompt Serenity. And you know what? We'll come back to that one. So if you know why I painted this hat, let me know in the chat. And I want to see because my husband looks at that, he goes, he didn't get it, which just floored me that he didn't get the significance of this hat for the prompt Serenity. And he's like, nobody's going to get that. Some people got it. A lot of people had like no clue. So let me know if you know why I use that. And I'm gonna go to a different sketchbook while amassing things in the chat. And I will check that later. Okay, so this is a sketchbook. This is from the company Light Wish, and they're somehow affiliated with Paul Rubens. I think they may be the American distributor of Paul Rubens products. And I generally like most of the things that they have put out. And so they said they have a new 100% cotton sketchbook. Would I like to try it out? And of course I said yes, because I like to know what's new. I'm pretty much making my own sketchbooks now because you just can't really match the quality. But I'm a sketchbook floozy, and I can't say no to a tempting little snack of a sketchbook that comes winking my way. So I had to floozy myself onto this sketchbook, as Angela Clark would say. You floozied yourself into another sketchbook, Lindsay. I don't know if she's in the chat today, but yeah, I floozied myself into another sketchbook, and I couldn't resist. I like the fact that it's refillable. And it comes with, actually, I don't know if you should put this much paper in here at once. And the paper comes separately in a plastic bag, so you could actually just put in I think it comes with 30 sheets. Like you could put in 10 sheets and save the rest out because that would give you 20 pages. But I just put it all in and it does fit, but I think it's a little tight. Now I did, this is a little bit smaller than the B 100% cotton paper. And I wanted to compare this with the B cotton paper because I thought it might be the same. I would say it's an equivalent quality, but it's not the same paper as the B. The B is actually a little bit bigger, so you can actually just punch the B paper and fit it, but you might need to trim a little bit off the corners here where these little tabs are. But it's a nice paper. I do like the paper. It's got a different texture on each side. One side is more textured and one side is more smooth, but you can use both sides, which I like. This was just me fooling around with some watercolors that were so bad that I'm not reviewing them. Um, they're just kind of like it's kind of like that. I've reviewed these paints 5 times already. I swear, I'm not doing it again. It was just like the same thing, just in a different name. I think probably the parent company would have been See Me Art. But anyways, it was fine. I used it in kind of a gouache way, and I painted something. It was kind of craptacular until I went in with a fine liner um, and kind of tidied things up. But I decided that would be just a cover of this start of a sketchbook because obviously there's a lot left over and it's beyond July. And this right here, I'm planning for my next Michael's live stream, and this is using the Inktense pan paints or blocks. And it's just basically the prompt was effervescent, and I draw a lot of cocktails. I'm like, I just don't want to do a cocktail or a soda. What can I do? And I thought of a fountain, bubbling and spraying and that effervescence. So I was using the Inktense products, and I was like, oh, I think this would work well for my next Derwent Michael's class. And the Inktense white is very opaque in the blocks and in the pan paints. I also wanted to take a subject that's neutral in color, like this. This was just like a cream colored marble fountain, and I wanted to add color and push it and use the colors as use the shading and the value in the neutral colored statue to inform what colors I chose. So I chose purples for my darkest colors, magenta for my medium tones, and yellow ochre for my highlights. And I like the way that looks. And yeah, I'm going to be teaching that in the next Michael's class, and I'll have a pattern and stuff it's actually going to be on a bigger piece of paper, but it's kind of a fun one. You would want, if you don't have Inktense products, you'd want to be following along probably with like gouache or gouache and watercolor because you are going to need some opacity. You could even use acrylics for that matter. But I think it does show the unique properties of the Inktense blocks and pan paints, which since Derwent is sponsoring it, I try to show something unique about their line with it, but that was for effervescent. And here I did that during that live stream with the surfing guy. I was just comparing some papers. This was for the prompt. Oh, let's look at my phone again because I don't remember. uh, it was an earlier one. Oh my gosh, filter, like a coffee filter. I did a mocha pot and a bag of coffee beans. I got the reference photo from Unsplash. I thought it was kind of fun. I liked the textures and the colors. I liked the smooth, hard metallic next to the crinkly paper and the organic beans. I thought it was kind of a nice juxtaposition, and it was fun to draw. And I used the Bangano pens for that, and I liked how that came out. I like a sepia pen. And this was me just messing around with the Biennial pens. And this is the Pentel. You can see how much darker it is. It's like a really dark brown. And the Biennial is more, I wouldn't really call it orangey, but it is more warm. It's closer to a sanguine than the Pentel is. So you can look at those two and decide. Now, Pitt has some sepia pens. They have black sepia and sanguine. So I think their sepia is a little closer to the Pentel sepia, if I'm remembering correctly. I imagine they're still available, maybe not in the wallets anymore, but maybe open stock. But I used to love their little they had 4 pens, and there was like a brush pen and a fine and an extra fine and like a medium. And I had the sanguine, the sepia, and the black, and I loved the sepia and the sanguine. They used to always go on sale at like Art Supply Warehouse and Jerry's Artorama. And then this is just to show you the different weights of those biennial pens. I really like that. Comes in a nice little pouch too for like $12. It's quite a buy, I think. and very water resistant. This one here, I used the Pentel Black brush pen, and the prompt was record or record, and I just was fooling around here while I was crafting with a couple friends, and just using some primary like cobalt teal, Hansi yellow, I think, in Quin magenta, and just fooling around, not really doing anything too serious. But I like how it came out, especially for the amount of time and energy I put into it. I thought it was pretty good for that anyway. And then for the prompt striped, I picked up this little vintage book at a yard sale this summer, and it was just old, like it was about saltwater fish, and it was the cutest thing. And I looked through those illustrations to get a few striped fish, and that's what I did. And this is my horrible handwriting, but there you go. I wish I had planned out the handwriting more, and that's pretty much story of my life. Anytime I add writing to something, I wish I had planned it more. So speaking of writing, I'm going to go back to the hat, and we'll see if anybody knows where that came from. So I'm just gonna look through and see if anybody knows. Oh, Gypsy Soul says she ordered the sepia pens in the pouch. I don't think you'll regret that. I really enjoy that. Um, I'm just looking through to see if anybody got it. I should have had them put it in all caps so I'd see it. Ha! Carrie D says, I didn't see Firefly, though I did see Serenity the movie. I don't remember the hat in the movie. It was Jane's hat. And there's an episode about that hat. His mother had sent him that hat in a care package, and Jane is kind of this kind of, I don't want to say jerky male chauvinist guy, but he's kind of a jerky male chauvinist bro. And so he put that on, and he's like, I'm wearing this hat. My mom made it for me. And it was kind of, you see this tender side to him that you don't see in the series yet. And the captain goes, man walks down the street in a hat like that, and he's not afraid of anything. And I just love that line. And then when Jane put the hats on, he goes, pretty cunning, don't you think? And the word cunning, you never hear anybody say the word cunning unless you're from Maine. And so I thought, oh, maybe Jane has New England roots. Was that the hat from the movie Serenity? Lisa says. It's from the show Firefly, but Serenity was a sequel to that show. Somebody says because knitting is calming. That's a really good, inference, though. Knitting is calming. Because having ears warm is a blessing. That's great guesses. I love how you can see what you want to see in art. I think that's what's so great about it. I'm scrolling back because I don't know how far back when I asked the question was. Oh, Lisa says you could put the prompt list in the sketchbook. That's a really good idea. I've done that with Inktober before, mainly because I've worked with Viviva during Inktober, and they've printed out the prompts and put them in their products. Okay, post-it notes. That's a great idea. Mikey's Craft or Mitchie's Craft suggested post-it notes. All right. Good, 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 good calls, guys. Gypsy says the hat really looks like knitting. I did a fun technique with that, and I'll tell you what I did, because I think it's something you might want to try. I did it all in watercolor, and I did, different shades. So I did the kind of yellow here, and added a little bit of ochre in the shadow area. And then I did more reddish, reddish brownish color down here. So I did kind of blocked it in. And then when that was dry, I went in and did the strokes for like the knitting. So I did kind of like stockinette stitch. So we've got like the knitting, and then we've got the pearls here, and knitting on the outside, pearls on the inside. And then I went in with acrylic paint pen and the same similar colors, and I overdid some of those same marks just to give it a little more texture. And then I went in with a colored pencil, and I overdid some of those marks. And so the watercolor wash plus watercolor lines plus acrylic marker lines plus pencil lines, colored pencil lines, gives it that little bit of a texture that's a little bit like yarn, where you've got the smooth twist of the strands, but then you've also got a little bit of fuzz and grain from from the pencil. So I thought that was a really good way to capture yarn in an illustration. So, and there's my, again, regretful. I always regret putting words. Why this one was, the prompt was deck. And I just got this new, I love inspiration decks, and I just got this one to try out, and it's by the company Zolly, and I have to put a link to that. But it's a like a color palette deck, and I haven't there's ways to use it. I need to get in there more and try it out more and play with some of the different prompts that they have. But I thought, oh, that would be fun. Then I can also put the color cube, and then I've had this for so long. When we first bought our house, this was like back in 1999. I the folks, I think it was Home Depot, they gave me a color book. I don't know how I was so lucky, but they gave me a color book. And hung on to this ever since. And I always use this to pick colors. And I don't even think these colors are still like um probably still called these names, but I can go in and I can like say, I want that color, and it's such a great resource. So this was so awesome to get from the Home Depot. So I had that. And I mean, I have all sorts of little things like that. And I have this one I couldn't find that was a deck of cards called the Creative Whack Pack. That's all different prompts, creativity prompts. And then I threw my art dice in there because that's also kind of that same ilk of product. And I just didn't have it in me that day. I'd been very busy, and I'm just like, I just got to get this done. And I just did a quick cartoony sketch, and that was it. And I wasn't super proud of it, but it's like, I'm getting it done, I'm posting it. It's fine for it's a amount of time put into it, but um I do like the colors, just stuff I like about it. I don't know if I really like that style, but I was losing steam, really losing steam towards the end. Do I have anything else in this book? What was my last one was tumultuous at best. Um, I worked in this sketchbook, which I've only done one thing in this sketchbook so far. This was recommended to me by Sarah Byrne. She does beautiful work in her Stillman and Byrne sketchbook, and I have had such a hard time using this. And this was with Winsor Newton gouache, and I have no idea why I have so much bleed here. I think I might have, you know what? I think I sketched it with a pink pencil, and I'm getting so much bleed from that pink pencil I sketched with. I think that has to be it. But anyway, I don't really love this paper, but I've got to give it some more tries because I know it's good. I've seen other people create beautiful things on it. But anyway, I use gouache, which is an opaque watercolor. Partially because I've had this set that I was sent to review, and I accepted it. I said I would review it, and I figured I'll have time to use this at least a couple times during World Watercolor Month, and I hadn't used it yet. So I'm like, well, today's the day. I'm going to use that. And I set up a little still life with this big shell that I picked up on a beach years ago and have never done anything with it. It's just been sitting in a pile in the room of hoard. Oh, here it is, actually, right here. And I grabbed a tube of shell pink watercolor, and I put that in there, and I grabbed some pearls that were in this strange baggie. It's this baggie in my jewelry box, and it says Aunt Betty's stuff, and I have no idea who Aunt Betty is or why I have her stuff, but there it was. So I grabbed those pearls and put it with the shell pink in the thing, and I painted it. And I went in to change my glasses because I had my progressives on, and I bought my reading glasses. And when I came back out, I didn't realize I had the painting was sitting on the couch, on the outdoor couch, and I sat on it, and the paint was wet, and I had a string of pearls on my behind, and and there started the frustration. But I persevered and got through it, and I used a white acrylic paint pen to do some highlights, and it is cracking. So this is definitely not an archival piece. It's already got cracks on it. Again, I ended the month very frustrated with this challenge, but I finished it. I got all the days done, and really that's what I set out to do. I did add some colored pencil to this because it wasn't working. It wasn't working. And I wish I just done it in watercolor because I was more it's kind of like speaking in your native language versus speaking in a foreign language, and where I'd been using watercolor so much, I would have been faster. It would have looked better, but I think I felt the pressure to get some stuff done with that gouache. Actually, this is a swatch of that gouache. I just swatched it earlier today because I wanted to finish up my evaluation of it, because I've reviewed this brand of gouache before, so I didn't need to do a full review, just kind of an overview of this set. And yeah, I'm not really recommending it, honestly. very streaky and transparent in certain colors, and I definitely struggled using it in practice, in a practical thing. I wasn't rushed. I had plenty of time to work with it, but wasn't happy with it came out, wasn't happy with the products I was using, and I was happy with my drawing. I liked how my drawing came out, and I wish I'd done watercolor because I wouldn't have lost the drawing so quickly, and it would have been a little bit nicer, I think. But I'll see if there's any other questions in the chat. I will put back. I'm not going to leave you with that bad taste in your mouth for that painting. I know. I feel like I get more critical of myself the more. It's like the Dunning-Kruger effect. The more you know, the more you realize you have to learn. And it's like, somebody's a beginner at something, and I've had that same experience. You're a beginner at something. Everything is sunshine and roses. And then the more you learn, the more you realize you have to learn. And yeah, so I'm like, not where I want to be yet, but life is long and we will have time to refine and keep learning, right? That's what we could do. Good. Keep learning. Let's put some fish here. Why not? There we go. Some things to look at while I answer these last questions that come in. Oh, Yells says, well done finishing the month. Thank you very much. Bravo. Oh, thank you so much. Oh, and bravo to you. Gypsy Soul finished the challenge. So awesome. Very, very good. It's hard. It's hard to do something every day for a month, especially on top of the other stuff that you're doing. And yeah, yes, Sonia finished the month. Well done, Sonia. And the replay will be available after, so if you had to leave early, you will get a chance to catch up on the end. It's on my blog, and it will be on YouTube. You'll have to click the live tab, I think, on my channel in order to find it, unless it's recommended to you. It will probably be in your subscription feed as well. Live videos, they don't put with videos anymore. They put them under the live tab. If you're ever looking for old live streams, that's the best way to find them on somebody's YouTube channel, whether mine or another creator's. You go to their channel and then click the live tab, and then you can see all their past live streams because they won't show up in their video lineup. Rhode Island says cunning as well. Oh, that's good. That's nice to know that it's spreading. My grandmother, that's an old timer saying, like, wicked cunning. Oh, that's so cunning. You look so cunning. Oh, isn't that cunning? Usually referring to a little baby or something like that. Cunning little baby. All right. Well, I think I've caught up. And look at that. I was intending to live stream for an hour, and here we are, just under an hour. Well, that's great. That's great. Yeah, I guess that's all. Oh my gosh. Well, thank you so much for spending some of your time with me today. I appreciate it. I know it's a busy time of year for most people. I've got some other questions here. Michi's Crafts says, or Mikey's Crafts, question, have you made the gouache tour? No, I'm still reviewing some gouache. I have the Turner designer gouache left to review. But actually, that might be the last one I have to review. That I haven't posted the new Himi one, but I have reviewed Himi gouache before. I haven't, but I really should. I will when I get the Turner one done, and then I'll do a lineup of my rating my gouache best to worst. And I'll probably I probably could do them all in one video because I don't have as many like I do watercolors. I might have to revisit some of the student grade ones that I haven't used in a while because I don't find there's as big of a difference between student grade gouache and artist grade gouache. Not like there is in watercolors, but now that I've used more artist grade gouache, I may be a little pickier, especially because there's been some really great gouache that's been out. The Daniel Smith, as critical as I am of Daniel Smith, I like Daniel Smith. I think they make beautiful paint. I also think some of their stuff isn't so hot, but as critical as I am of Daniel Smith, I think they have one of the best gouaches out there. And I don't think they need to expand their palette. They did a recent expansion, and I know a lot of paint companies will just expand because people are willing to buy it. But I think if they stick to the basics, and just keep that level, the quality level high, then they're really gonna be a top player in the gouache market. I like M. Graham. M. Graham was probably the artist quality brand I was the most familiar with. But Winsor & Newton does a good job. There's a lot of, I think maybe gouache is easier to get right. Um, but yeah, I think I would probably have to use some of the student grade ones because I used to love the Savoir Faire gouache. I even liked Reeves gouache. That was a very affordable brand. So I don't know. It's gonna be tough. I could probably rate my artist quality gouache in order pretty well. The student quality stuff I definitely would have to revisit because aside from jelly gouache, which there's two that I really like, but one's no longer made. The Anagani gouache is my favorite for the jelly gouache stuff. It'd be interesting. There's so much out now. Gouache is having a moment, and I feel like every company is coming out with gouache, and a lot of it is the private labeled stuff that's just the same under 20 different brands. So I don't know if I want to dig into that rabbit hole because I found swatching out that Himi gouache today because I finished up that review for the Himi gouache today, or the update, I guess, and I was finding very little joy in that, and I don't think I want to dive into that rabbit hole. I think being in depth in watercolor is enough, and I'll leave gouache for somebody else to do. Sneak says, "Do you like the Holbein gouache?" Yes, I do. I don't have a ton of it, but what I do have, I really like. I'm kicking myself that I didn't buy their set of 24 15 ml tubes like last summer when they were $85 on Amazon. I'm still kicking myself over that. But I bought the set of 5 mixing colors and I love it. I actually bought an ML tubes. You really can't go wrong. Um, they're they're outstanding. I prefer a smaller palette personally. I got the Winsor & Newton mixing set. I was trying to just go for mixing sets of the artist grade gouache to really be fair. Um, Daniel Smith has a good one, but it's only 3 colors. No, maybe it's 4. Maybe it's 3 primaries and a white. And I really feel like it needs a brown, so I did buy a brown to go with that. That was really good too. I've got to say. But I think Holbein is the best limited mixing palette out there. Yeah, Daniel Smith does not crack when panned down. I really like that. Da Vinci pans really well too. Da Vinci's gouache pans great, and it re-wets really well. But so does Daniel Smith. Either way, you can't go wrong with either. I don't think Holbein doesn't pan as well. Oh, sketches and scrubs coming in late. Don't worry, the replay is available. And I have still photos of all of these on my blog, thefrugalcrafter.wordpress.com, and on my Instagram page. I'm just at Lindsay Weirich on Instagram because somebody took the Frugal Crafter. How rude. And I've been on Instagram for like 10 years. Uh, okay. Norma asks, is there an August challenge that you're doing? Oh, no. My challenge is let's get through August to get these kids back to college and get everybody's I've got one child studying abroad. So yeah, let my August challenge is life, friends. Oh my goodness, I'm laughing at that. I think my husband would would have a problem if I did an August challenge. I think all of the World Watercolor Month widows are happy to have their spouses back in August. Oh, Kaya Leila says, Lindsay, I was going to write on your video, but I'll say it here. You said you want to go to travel to Europe again, come over to Spain. Okay, so this is funny. I was going to go to Spain, so I'm planning a retreat for next year, next October, so October 2025, and I really wanted to go to Spain. There's a location that Uptrek uses in Spain that had availability, and they also had a location in Italy. And I was torn between two. I had the majority of people on SatChat when I mentioned the 2 locations wanted Italy, but I did have some former students from the last retreat that want to go to Spain, and Spain sounded really fun. My husband speaks Spanish, not super fluent, but he speaks it a bit. And I thought, oh, that'll be nice. And I'm like, it's probably going to be a little warmer there. And they had a location on a nature preserve, but it was only vegan and vegetarian, which is nature preserve, vegan, vegetarian, perfect for me. But the fact that and it all had individual rooms, which I thought, well, that's great, individual little casitas for all the people that were coming. And I thought, well, that's great because a lot of people don't want to share rooms with people they don't know. But the downside was the walk from the individual little cabins was like 15 minutes to like where we eat and where we paint, and where my audience is a little older. I didn't want to exclude people from this retreat because there was so much walking involved, and I also didn't want, and they've had that complaint before at UpTrek, and I didn't want to exclude people that were not open-minded to a 100% vegan and vegetarian diet, which is what, because it's on a nature preserve, they're not allowed to serve meat there. So I'm going to do Italy next year because it's I think the crowd favorite. It's one of their most popular locations, and I think it's right in Tuscany, so it's a beautiful region. It's just going to be perfect for painting. So yes, I definitely want to come to Spain. My husband really wants to come to Spain, but just the next one will be Italy for now. But I am open-minded. I am definitely open-minded because I think the Spanish culture is beautiful, and I definitely would love to see it. And it looks so warm there. The people look warm, and the landscape looks warm. Everything looks so warm, and I love warm weather, warm environments. Um, yeah. Okay, did I miss anything? Uh, okay. I'm sorry for the dead air. I'm just scrolling back and seeing if I've missed anything. I'll do Inktober. That'll be my next challenge. Somebody was asking about an August challenge. I will do Inktober, which is October. It's using ink every day. I usually do a lot of alcohol ink markers during that month because that's my favorite ink to illustrate in, but I use watercolor ink and all sorts of other things. I think I enjoy the Inktober challenge so much because there's such a big community that does it. And I felt like this year with World Watercolor Month, there wasn't as many people participating. And I'm not sure if that was the case or just Instagram changed. And it used to be like last year, I would look at the World Watercolor Month hashtag, and you could sort it by top posts or by most recent, and I would click most recent so I could see what other people were doing for after, because like after I post my prompt, because I don't want to be influenced before I do mine. After I posted mine, I would go and look and see what other people had posted for the day, and I love that, and I felt like such a community. And this year they changed it, and I'm only seeing the top posts, like the most popular Instagrammers stuff. And a lot of it isn't even World Watercolor Month. They're just using the hashtag. And it was disappointing because that's how I discover other people I want to follow, and I get to see other people's artwork. And without that, being able to see most recent, it's just not the same. It's so disappointing because I want to see everybody's, I don't want to just see the most popular people. Um, so if I'm missing something and there's a way to go back and see recent when you search a hashtag, I would love to, because I just thought, and I think it's really terrible for especially new people, like newer artists or people that are new to Instagram or people that just never got the favor of the algorithm. Like I've been on Instagram for 10 years. I post a lot, and I have very little growth there. I've never had a viral moment or a moment where I've gotten a lot of traction there. It's been slow and steady the entire way, which is good in one way because the people that are following me are actually actual people and not like robots or anything. But a lot of people don't show my work to the people that are following me. I'll have like a good month. I'll have a reach of 9,000 accounts reached, but it's like I've got 21,000 followers on that platform. So it's not, and I'm posting like 30 times, 31 times during a month, and only 9,000 things get pushed out there. It's like or only 9,000, or my followers only see 9,000 pieces. I mean, that's a lot, but when you look at the grand scheme of things, the same thing with YouTube, same thing with everything. They've got to cull it, I guess, but it's just frustrating. It's frustrating both being a creator, sharing work on these platforms, and trying to see other people's artwork. Uh, Oh, somebody else says Donna Kelly says, I thought not as many would watercolor as well. I use Facebook every year and it gets less. Okay, yeah. I don't use Facebook as much because it seems like when I go on there, I don't see the artwork that I want to see. I just see people bickering and complaining and advertising. So it makes me not want to go on that platform very much. Yeah, Kaya Layla says, I don't understand why on earth they would take away the hashtag on IG. It's bizarre. It was like a perfect tool. Exactly. If you're looking for something specific, let us see what we're looking for and let us see it by most recent. It makes no sense. But I mean, there's no real alternative, honestly. So I don't know. I posted everything on my blog, so at least people that, because if you follow me on my blog and you elect to have emails, you get the emails. I have a little more control over them. Uh, Sketches and Scrubs said she barely uses Instagram now. I think they're pushing Threads so much, but I don't like Threads because, again, it's a bunch of people bickering. It's like Twitter. I don't like Twitter. I don't use Twitter or X, whatever the heck they're calling it now, because there's just a bunch of people engagement farming, trying to get people upset so they comment, so they get boosted by the algorithm because their posts have engagement. It's just so gross. And Threads is getting gross too. It's like two sides of the same coin. It's like you got some people on one side being all gross on X, and you got people on the other side being gross on Threads. It's like, come on, people, can't you just get along? Can't we have nice things? Can't we just see the art that we subscribe to and you want to see? All right. Engagement farming, what an apt description. That's what it is. It is. It's just everybody being awful. Well, thank you guys so much for watching. Like I said, if you want to see still images of any of these, you can find them on my Instagram page. Maybe you'll see them. I guess if you go to my page, you can see them. That's probably the only way you will. Or just go to my blog, thefrugalcrafter.wordpress.com. I try to post the highlights on my blog. Not everything makes it over there, but I try to post the stuff I think that will be useful in the future. And yeah, I'm gonna take a nice long break until my challenge in October. I mean, I'll still be painting and stuff, but not any challenges per se. And if you have any questions after the live stream is done, please post them in the comments section under the video, because I'm not sure if the live chat stays active afterwards. Sometimes it does, sometimes it doesn't. Thanks for hanging out. And as always, till next time, happy crafting.